It's the worst of the CBC for February 8th, 2020, the show where I watch the CBC so you don't have to. Okay, today's episode is basically about how Justin Trudeau, I don't know if he's pro-Wexit or he just hates Alberta. Like, I actually think Justin Trudeau is a Wexiteer, not because he loves Western Canada, but because he really hates it. And I don't even think he likes regular Canada all that much either. And the news is not covering what it should be major news in Canada, the fact that the Prime Minister is actively undermining the country's economy, or just doesn't understand economics. Maybe a bit of column A, a bit of column B. Okay, so worst covered story of the day. Yeah, the Wet'suwet'en elected chiefs have, of course, proved the LNG expansion, but they're pretending that all these white people haven't, and they're panicking over that. They're still lying about China, lying about the coronavirus, and they haven't covered the Justin Trudeau Security Council seat for what it really is, a vanity project that's going to cost the country millions and do nothing for us, but just push his career after he's Prime Minister. Okay, that's all the way. The biggest omission of the day is the fact that the Prime Minister is actively undermining the country, and especially the West. So we'll start before we get to the deep Wexit stuff. Let's just talk about how he's just not fit to rule in general. We have our premiers at sort of a convention of states in Washington. So Kenny, Scott Moe, Doug Ford, Frenchy McFrenchpants, and Manitoba Guy. They are in the States trying to sell investor confidence in businesses, because businesses are running out of Canada because there's no investor confidence, and there shouldn't be. At the same time, we're trying to sell investor confidence to the States. The Prime Minister is actively up there undermining us by basically talking about bailouts on the TMX thing. So he said, okay, so what you have to know is the Trans Mountain expansion, it's finally been approved. It's cleared its final legal, and because it's under government control, costs are ballooning, because when the government takes over something, costs balloon, right? We bought it for $4 billion, $4.5 billion, even though Kinder Morgan was going to build it for us for free. Then we assumed the other $7 billion building cost. That's now ballooned to $12 billion. And the Prime Minister is now actively talking about killing the project, which has been approved at all levels now. I think he was kind of hoping, as you saw, that it would get killed, and then offering a bailout and foreign aid to Alberta, right? So the fact that we're treating Alberta like it's like a third world country, one, foreign aid doesn't even work, and we'll explain why in a bit. But the fact that we're treating it like that, like, are we already pretending that the West is going to separate? So I thought the TMX was definitely going to get approved, because in the 5 minutes after the election, the Wexit movement took off. And listen, as an Easterner, I totally understand the Waxen Movement. The government is actively anti-Western Canada. The government's anti-Alberta, anti-Saskatchewan, and anti-sort of rural BC and that too. Like, actively putting up policies that are against the West. It's not ignorance. A part of it is ideology and ignorance, we can say, but it is still an anti-Western government. So one of the reasons why stock markets boom under Trump and why sort of stock markets boom under conservatives is usually I care more about what people do than the rhetoric they say as politicians, but economics is actually one of the places where rhetoric is kind of important. And the reason why stock markets do well under Trump is because he gets up there and he blabbers on and on about it's going to be so great for business, I'm going to deregulate, it's going to be great business, businesses love me. And when you're a business owner and you hear deregulation, we're not going to stop you, lower taxes, we're not going to fight business, you have confidence, you want to invest there. When Obama gets up and says, well, if you built a business, you didn't really build that, and it's our property, right? That lowers investor confidence and less people invest. This is Canada right now. Well, we have premiers trying to sell our country and our provinces as places where businesses can be confident. We then have the Prime Minister off in Africa sending notes like, actually, no, we're going to kill all these projects. Like, if you put an energy project in Canada, even after it's all approved by the courts, there's one final hurdle, and it's me. So I would have listen, if I'm a Norwegian businessman, if I'm a businessman from Morocco and I want to invest somewhere, I would not invest in Canada right now. No, not a chance. I would try a major project in Canada. Like, unless like I'm a Muslim Brotherhood guy and I know I got people in the government and it's like a project to sort of, create a terrorist training camp, then yeah, probably. That's probably a great investment these days. But like a serious best investment that's gonna bring jobs to Canada, no, I would not do that if I was a foreign businessman, because I would have no investor confidence, because that Prime Minister is actively out there saying you shouldn't. So this gets back to the Wexit movement, which, again, like, they have a legitimate gripe. If they're going to be part of a country that is going to actively undermine them, what's the point of being in that union? And we have to understand, as Eastern Canadians, like, the West kept us afloat. In the 2008 financial crisis, the reason why we're the healthiest economy in the G20, we had the least debt, is because the West basically propped us up. And the fact that we are undermining them is shameful. We're going to offer them aid, like some foreign aid, like some Band-Aid. We're going to just dump corn on the West. It's ridiculous. They need jobs. And I thought they'd definitely get the TMX done because it's the last thing. And the TMX thing was just a symptom, right? I thought it would just be a visual show to the West, like, oh, look, you got your pipeline. The real problem, the real core of the Wexit movement, the real core of why people in the West can say, Wexit is a good idea, is because of the anti-pipeline, anti-tanker bills, C-69 and C-48. Those are the key killers to the West, right? If you really want to cancel Western separation, if you want to keep the country together, we have to get rid of those two bills and leave room for new energy projects. I thought the Liberals would at least get this last one done so they could at least say in a propaganda tone like, oh, we built the West. We gave them infrastructure. They're just being crybabies because they don't get more. Like, I thought they would do that, which might sort of tamper down the symptoms, and then they'd be out of office, and then this would fall in the next government. I thought they would at least have that much of a brain, but it seems like, no, they're pure ideology to the max. So, I mean, as the East, like, how do we sell stay in Canada to Alberta and Saskatchewan right now? Because right now we'll give you bailout money. We're going to take you'll be unemployed, but you'll have like welfare from the East. And then we can't even afford it. We're broke. We can't even afford to bail out the West. We're basically going to take the Western money and use it to bail out the West and be like, you're welcome. Daddy, can I borrow $20? Oh, sure, but I'm kind of broke. Here, Dad, here's $17. You're welcome. Like, that's basically what we're doing. More like $10. So it's, wake up. We have to get this idiot out of office right now. Right now. And I really hope we don't get the Security Council seat to use it as a prop for Justin Trudeau to have go his post-Prime Minister UN tour. Ugh. What does the CBC get today? 9 out of 10, the Rosemary Barton scale. I have to port the CBC. Nuke it.